The following program and contents, including the views and opinions expressed by the host and any guest speakers, are solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The views and opinions expressed are not endorsed or supported by Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, their employees, affiliates, or advertisers. The host and guest speakers are solely responsible for their own perspectives, and their views do not reflect those of Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, their employees, affiliates, or advertisers. The information provided in this program should not be considered as professional advice or as a substitute for professional consultation. Listeners and viewers are encouraged to form their own opinions and seek independent advice when necessary. Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, their employees, affiliates, and advertisers hereby disclaim any liability for any claims, damages, or losses incurred as a result of the information presented in this program.
Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
The gut used to be considered little more than a waste disposal system. However, more recent scientific discoveries have shown there's ever so much more to the gut than meets the eye. In addition to being considered another brain, how does our gut impact immunity and longevity? Mission Evolution Radio TV show is coming to you around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. With us this hour to uncover the hidden functions of the gut is Dr. Robert Silverman. Dr. Silverman is a chiropractic doctor, clinical nutritionist, national, international speaker, author of Amazon's #1 bestsellers, Immune Reboot and Inside Out Health, and founder and CEO of Winchester Integrative Health. He has a Master of Science degree in Human Nutrition and 5 other designations in clinical nutrition. Dr. Silverman is on the advisory board for the Functional Medicine University and is a science officer with Nutritin and chief clinical consultant for KBMO Diagnostics. His website is drrobertsilverman.com. Dr. Silverman, thanks for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Thanks for having me. I am so excited to be here.
It's wonderful to be able to get together like this. Modern technology.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a few steps, but we're here now. I'm excited.
We're here now. All right. So, as a chiropractic doctor, how did you become interested in nutrition?
You know, they used to ask me the why guy when I went to chiropractic school. I went to chiropractic school because I suffer from congenital torticollis. So I have an asymmetry to my neck, and modern medicine gave me no opportunity to cure it. And as the story goes, I was helped by a chiropractor. I had my literal epiphany at 21, raced to chiropractic school. And when I was in chiropractic school, I always asked why, how. And nutrition was the answer for me to how and why the body could be fixed from the inside out.
Okay. So then, but is there much nutrition in chiropractic school, or did you have to go elsewhere?
You know, there was an ample amount of basic rudimentary nutrition in chiropractic school. Remember, I went in the late 90s. Things have changed since then. But it's been an everyday assault on learning more. So I've got 6 postgraduate degrees in nutrition, 2 diplomates, a master's, certification, all this kind of fun stuff. But nutrition is very fluid. It's a true ebb and flow, if you will. So if you're looking to embark on a nutrition plan, understand that it's an everyday trek.
And is it different for each person? What's going to help?
I love that question because it is different for each person because we are, if you will, the N of one. All that I learned, all that is out there is to be able to specify, individualize, and personalize for your clinical outcome and your best outcomes, if you will.
So what is gut health?
Gut health to me is the epicenter of your health. 80% of your immune cells are in your gut. It's where your macro and micronutrients are absorbed. What have you done for the guts lately? Or do you have the guts to be healthy? These are two questions I ask my patients every day. And people look at me in a real inquisitive manner saying, what do you mean by that? You're a chiropractor. I go to the medical doctor. I don't necessarily get an answer. They don't ask these questions. I believe that the backbone of true health is having gut health. I mean, Hippocrates once said all disease begins in the gut. In the year 2000, 2,500 years later, Dr. Alessio Fasano said all disease begins in the leaky gut.
Okay, and that begs the question, what is a leaky gut?
Well, your gut is your screen door. The first time the outside world meets the inside world is when something goes through your gut. And let's be precise. Let's take a step back. Let's give a little description. Right now, we're a blank canvas on when we look at the gut. But let me fill in some stuff so we can get to a full tapestry, if you will. So your gut, when we talk about it, is your small and large intestine. Now, your small intestine is truly misnamed in that it's really long. It's 90 to 95% of the length, but it's small because it has a very small diameter. Your large intestine is much larger in diameter, but quite small. Your small intestine has a single layer epithelial cell, which has the thickness of a wet paper towel. When you unravel it, it covers the surface area of a tennis to a basketball court. The sole purpose of your small intestine is to allow small digestible food particles to go through water, vitamins, and minerals. Anything other than that gets into your bloodstream and can cause chaos, mayhem, and obviously adverse effect to overall healing. When your gut is too large or there are holes in it, we call that a leaky gut. Just think of your gut as a screen door, your back screen door. When it's in its pristine condition, what's supposed to pass, go back and forth does. When there's a hole, that's when the problems entail and start.
What creates these holes in the small intestine?
It's another excellent question. There's a plethora of things that can do that, but some of the more common things are use of or overuse of antibiotics. Antibiotics are what we call the nuclear weapon to the gut. I'm not anti-antibiotic, as long as that is not a misnomer, but antibiotics have a very detrimental effect to your overall gut lining. In addition to that, something called PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, which are only supposed to be used for 4 to 6 weeks. Unfortunately, most of the population who uses it use it for months, years. I have patients even coming in using it for decades. They're damaging to your gut lining. Sugar, food additives, gluten. So I will tell you now, I know I'm not going to be popular with this. I'm sorry to say this. No gluten, no dairy, no artificial sweeteners, all ruinous to your gut health. In addition to that, food sensitivities can damage your gut health. And some other things like lectins and agglutins and a lot of the toxic chemicals that are used outside and in farming.
So which came first, the leaky gut or the food allergies?
That's a great question. That is the chicken and the egg question that we ask ourselves personally as practitioners all the time. It's a good question. Did the leaky gut cause the food sensitivities? Did the food sensitivities cause the leaky gut? My answer is remove the food sensitivities and fix the leaky gut, and you're going to have overall health.
So you don't need to know which came first, just fix it.
I'll be honest with you. I would love to tell you which one came first, but when people come in with both of them, it's really hard to ascertain. However, most people do not test to see if they have a leaky gut, and most people do not test to see if they have food sensitivities. I believe food sensitivities are one of the top reasons for chronic hidden inflammation.
What, are unhealthy digestive systems on the rise? And if so, what's bringing this about?
Well, some of the environmental things that we talked about, but the abuse of medications, the overuse of medications, that's the U.S. population, 4.24% of the world's population. We use 52% of the world's medications and 80% of the world's pain medications. These medications are very damaging to our overall gut health. In addition, gluten, but it's not just gluten. It's American gluten. It's been hybridized. So what happened was in the late 60s, they gave somebody a Nobel Prize called Louis Bourdon, who shortened the gluten, made it more glutinous and thick, and hybridized it and made it almost like a foreign substance. In addition to that, the soils in which we use have been affected by something called Roundup. And in Roundup has something called glyphosate. The World Health Organization has called glyphosate a cancer-causing product. So you put the glyphosate in the gluten, which has been hybridized, and you serve it up as a real common food, it's just to our gut health.
Man, so it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. We got our little hands on it, thought we could improve it, and it didn't work so well, huh?
That's a great takeaway. Jacqueline once said, if man makes it, I won't eat it. That's my diet.
I like that. I like that. So leaky gut results from damage to the small intestine. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So if we have damaged small intestine and therefore we have leaky gut, are we getting undigested particles into the bloodstream?
Yes, you're getting large undigested food particles into the bloodstream. Those particles typically are proteins. You have something called an immune system, and that immune system signals and attacks those large undigested food particles. That starts a localized inflammatory problem. If that doesn't abate, you then have a systemic problem because we have what we call the circulatory system that goes around in a circle. And ultimately, when you overwork the immune system gets confused between those large undigested food particles and structures of your body, and you have what we call autoimmunity. A great example of autoimmunity is thyroid.
Okay, so how does the thyroid fit in here?
The thyroid fits in that about 75% of my patients that have a thyroid issue like Hashimoto's have it because of leaky gut and autoimmunity. And the commonality is people look at the thyroid but don't look at the cause of it. So the whole idea of nutrition isn't just to change people's lives with eating differently and supplements. There's a concept called functional medicine. And the backbone of functional medicine is to look for what we call root cause resolution. So if I signify that you have a thyroid problem, that's not root cause resolution. What caused the problem is root cause resolution. And that's what's so exciting about the addition of nutrition and functional medicine is it really lets you layer in and peel back that onion, if you will, to find out what is the root cause. Because
we're going to have to pick up more on root cause on the other side of a short station break. Dr. Silverman and I will return very shortly, so don't you go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
causes the dreaded belly fat? With us this hour discussing gut health is Dr. Robert Silverman. Dr. Silverman is the author of Immune Reboot and Inside Out Health. Dr. Silverman, that's the question of the day. What causes belly fat?
Most people think it's calories in and calories out. And I disagree with that because I don't count calories. I count chemicals. I don't count calories. I count nutrients. I don't count calories. I count satiety. I don't count calories. I count when you eat your food. I don't count calories. I look at your gut health. If you're not able to absorb because you have a leaky gut, you're going to need to eat more and more food because you've not reached your caloric intake or you haven't reached your nutrient satiation. So I believe that the backbone of a lot of the weight issues that we have today is leaky gut. In addition, the number one consumption issue is ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed food are foods that has 5 ingredients or more. 63% of the calories consumed by Americans today are consumed by ultra-processed foods.
Oh my goodness. And ultra processed, doesn't that kind of like process out all the nutrition?
All it is a calorie with no nutrients, no fiber, no prebiotics, no probiotics. It's basically open a bag of Doritos and going to work.
Ugh. Okay. So,
Mhm.
I've heard sugar is related to belly fats. Is that accurate?
That is more than accurate. The average American consumes 160 pounds of sugar per year. Sugar works with the reward center in your brain. One of the tenets, the key components to ultra-processed food is sugar because of its working with the reward center in the brain. There was a study done with mice. Mice were offered sugar or cocaine. 94% of the mice took the sugar over the cocaine. What does that say about its addictability?
It's pretty scary, isn't it? And we
It's
feed it
real.
to our children hand over fist.
That is correct. Right now, the average adult, I think 75% of the average adults in America overweight or obese, and the children on a rise, I think it's in the 30s at this juncture. Never before in the history of America have we been such an obese nation.
Let's talk a little bit about inflammation. I have been told that it's kind of like the basis behind just about every disease we have. Do you concur with that? And where does the inflammation come from?
Without question, inflammation is the basis for many of our diseases. And I know we had an overview of longevity. Inflammation is called inflammaging, it's burning it from the inside. So inflammation means to set a fire. The problem is that if you don't put the fire out or you let the fire burn too long, it's very detrimental to structures. And believe it or not, fat cells are depositories for toxins. So the bigger the fat cell, the more toxin, the more inflamed you are. So one of the biggest things is to lose the weight and get rid of those toxic structures in a very efficient manner, i.e. detox, which will definitely decrease inflammation. My credo is to manage and modulate inflammation with my patients.
Is inflammation, you mentioned that leaky gut leads to inflammation because the larger particles getting into the bloodstream, the immune system going, you don't belong here, attack. Is that the main cause of inflammation?
I think that's one of the contributors to inflammation. Inflammation can cause leaky gut. I think a lot of it's our food choices. And I think, Hippocrates was right in when he said, let food be your medicine, let medicine be your food. Good food will stimulate health information in the body. Bad food will stimulate inflammation in your body. Choose wisely.
I mean, inflammation isn't a bad thing if you need it, right? Isn't that, I mean, it's part of the body's natural function.
Yes, it's part of the body's natural healing. If I could use a metaphor, think of a stove with 4 pilot lights, and you want to use one of the pilot lights to cook a dish. So you turn it on, you cook the dish, it's completed, and you shut it off. Beautiful use of inflammation. However, what happens if you turn it on, but you turn the flame on too high? Now you burn what's right there, that localized structure, that localized system, that localized organ. And or you turn it down, you take the pot away and you walk away and leave it overnight. All 4 pilots in a circular manner will light up. That's the problem with inflammation. It should turn on, it should turn off. You don't want it too high. You don't want it to last too long. That's when I want to manage and modulate inflammation.
When you spoke about losing weight to get rid of the toxins, if you're losing weight, doesn't that free the toxins up into your bloodstream for a while?
It does. It does. And that's why we talk about mixing detoxification with leaky gut formulation. So the two are unified. The gut and the liver are bi-directional. Whatever you do to your gut, you do to your liver. Whatever you do to your liver, you do to the gut. As a matter of fact, I always said that not only is the gut the epicenter of health, it's the bullseye of health. Whatever you do to your gut, you do to your brain. Whatever you do to your brain, you do to your gut. They are bi-directional. Your gut to brain axis, I like to refer to it as the superhighway to health.
There's, people are living pretty compressed lives right now, so we very often will get out of bed, hit the ground running, maybe grab a cup of coffee on the way out the door. What is this intermittent eating and not paying attention to the calories we consume as far as making sure that we have enough? What's that doing to us?
I think you're referring to the concept of intermittent fasting, and it's been in the news recently because of a horrific poster presentation at the American Heart Association, in that they released that there was a 91% increase in cardiovascular symptomology and a 3.9% increase in cardiovascular issues. But the study was really faulty in that the people in the study already had a predisposition towards cardiovascular, whereas the control did not. That said, it really gives us the opportunity to speak about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, or if you will, time restrictive eating, it refers to the idea of allowing you to fast and feed during the day. So I happen to use a numeric that is 14 and 10. For 14 hours during the day and night, I fast, and I have a 10-hour window in which I eat. The literature on health benefits are robust to intermittent fast during the day, in that it's shown that it is calorically restrictive. It promotes weight loss. It supports blood glucose regulation. It is fabulous adjunctive if you have any neurodegenerative disease. And for me, it would be a longevity and a lifestyle hack. Everybody should do some form of intermittent fasting as long as they don't have any major health concerns.
So, what is intermittent fasting exactly?
Intermittent fasting, or time restrictive eating, if you will. Time restrictive eating refers to what happens during the day. Intermittent fasting means you fast for a day, but they're used synonymously in the data. Intermittent fasting means I don't eat for 14 to 16 hours, but I eat in an 8 to 10 hour window. We were made to do that. Our circadian rhythm allows us to understand when to eat. So it's real simple. When it gets light outside, it's time to have breakfast. When it gets dark, it's time to have dinner. The sun, unless you live in Alaska, tells us when to eat and when to stop.
Does it also influence our digestion, the sun, the light?
The light, yes, but the intermittent fasting, that 8 or 10 hour window, helps our digestion because, our digestive system was not made to be working 16 to 18 hours. Everybody intermittent fast up to about 50 to 60 years ago. With this accessibility to food, we eat all day. Then somebody said we should eat 5 or 6 meals a day, small meals. That has been shown to be untrue. It's actually not healthy for us. It's better to eat smaller meals during the day in a smaller window to really enable us to be healthier and to give our digestive system some time to repair itself. If we could use a metaphor, think of a highway. I'm from New York, LA. Those highways are pretty busy. The longer the highways are busy, the harder it is to do repair to the highway. So at some point, you've got to shut the highway down or limit the traffic to do the repair. The same holds true in your intestinal tract.
And so here we are feeding ourselves nonstop with things that aren't good for us.
That is the problem. That is without question the problem. That's the crux of it, if you will.
So you say that gut health improves overall health. How long does it take to start seeing a difference?
I have patients that have seen a difference in a weekend, but realistically, 30 days up to 90 days, you'll see a life-changing difference if you take the foods away that you should. And of course, I have some acronyms to help everybody. And I mentioned a few of them before, but acronym number 1 is GPS. No gluten, no ultra processed food, no added sugar, DNA, no dairy. Sorry, everybody in the Midwest. No nicotine, no artificial sweeteners, no vegetable oils, or if you will, industrialized pressed seed oils, so commonly used in restaurants today. Avoid them, and no deep fried foods. If you do those 8 things, you have the choice of foods, you'll have a health promoting diet.
That doesn't sound like that much when you consider the rewards, does it?
Warren Buffett once said, your most valuable asset is your health, and I concur.
Yeah. Well, what fun is life if you're not healthy, right? So we're just about out of time in this segment. But when we're looking to start to treat, say, leaky gut, what would be the first thing you'd say to address?
The first thing I would say is test and not guess. Let's see what kind of leaky gut. Do you have a tight junction damage? Do you have a damage to the epithelial cell? Do you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, small intestinal fungal overgrowth? Test and not guess. And then when you can ascertain where your gut health is, you can then have pinpointed, personalized protocols to help your gut knit and heal.
Oh, very good. I like that a lot. It is time for that break. We'll pick up on more of that on the other side because I find that extremely interesting. Dr. Silverman and I will be right back to continue this discussion. So please stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Are you interested in evolving with the times and becoming all you can be? Don't you wish there was one place to find the latest information to help guide you through the process? I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio TV. Join me on my mission to find the latest evolutionary knowledge and tools. The guests on Mission Evolution are leading experts in a wide variety of divergent topics, including allopathic, holistic, and integrative medicine, epigenetics, enlightenment, quantum physics, meditative practices, environmental issues, spiritual evolution, trauma healing, and so much more. Mission Evolution Radio TV is aired worldwide through the X-Zone Broadcast Network, X-Zone TV Channel 32 on Simul TV. You can enjoy our archives of radio or TV shows with our compliments at www.missionevolution.org. Come see the amazing lineup of guests and topics. With more than 200 episodes to choose from, you're sure to find what you're looking for. Visit www.missionevolution.org. How long do you plan on living? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing longevity is Dr. Robert Silverman. His website, drrobertsilverman.com. Dr. Silverman, we have, this has been a big buzzword, is longevity. And we hear a lot about it, but is it just a supplement selling gimmick or is there more to it?
Excellent question. You know, it's funny. You asked the question of how long do you want to live? And I just have to share with everybody. I've decided to live to 120 in diaper of hypervitaminosis without question. It is not just a word. It's a theme. I think it's a movement, and it's exciting in that it's really touched people to take a look in the mirror and say, hey, it's not all about, do I have a wrinkle? It's about performance. And some of the things that really come to mind with the idea of longevity now is muscle mass. Finally, we're telling people to work out, both men and women together, because muscle mass is the longevity organ. So if you're 40, 50, 60 or more, start considering some weight resistance. Now, that doesn't mean you've got to go out and buy a barbell. Doesn't mean you have to buy a kettlebell or a dumbbell. Weight resistance, body weight. And if you want to use those things that I mentioned, you know, free weights, great. But weight resistance, 50% of your workout should be weight resistance. So the concept of longevity has really stimulated people to consider what's important and start to be healthy. Because to be frank, we need to do something, because here in America, we are without question the most unhealthiest, advanced, industrialized nation in the world.
So, what does weight resistance do to help our health?
Well, weight resistance enables you to hold your muscle mass and put on muscle mass. Now, muscle mass is interesting in that it is probably the longest organ in the body. Muscle mass also is a virtual endocrine organ in that it helps you dispense and disperse with glucose. So people who have more muscle on their body have lower blood sugar problems, diabetes and diabesity. The combination of diabetes and obesity are a major concern in America today, leading to the number one killer in America, which is cardiovascular disease. I believe if people cut their sugar in their diet and did some weight resistance, 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, we would have a whole different health outcome today in America.
I have been told that osteoporosis and osteopenia can be improved or avoided by using weight bearing exercise. Where are you on that one?
I think that is a component to help decrease the incidence of osteoporosis. Osteoporosis, think of porous holes in the bone. Pena, thinking of a softer bone, more commonly in women than men, though men do have it. I think weight resistant is a great choice. I think a proper calcium, MCHC, microcrystalline hydroxycitrate would be the choice calcium with vitamin D. And you've got to take the vitamin D, you've got to take it with K. I know there's a lot of questions about that. K tells the vitamin D to take the calcium to the bone and not the soft tissue where it could plaque. So you must have the K. And you've got weight resistance, those supplements. And unfortunately for women, they have to watch their estrogen level. When they go through peri and menopausal years, they lose estrogen, and that loss of estrogen also leads them down a path of a loss of bone mass.
Well, one thing leads to another, doesn't it? So,
It is a cascade.
so how is gut health and longevity related?
They are intertwined. They are, if you will, the dynamic duo. If you have good health, you should have good longevity. But let's kind of define what longevity is. Longevity is lifespan versus health span. And I like to talk about lifespan, health span, and vitality. So lifespan is how long you live. Health span is how long you live that you're healthy without a chronic disease. And to me, vitality is the secret sauce. Because if you're vital, if you and I say, we're going to go for a hike, you and I, we're going to go for a swim, there are people who have no chronic disease, but can't enjoy their life. So it's all about vitality. Gut health is the backbone to all of those three because one, the immune system, but two, as we age, our immune system falters. That's why we hear so much about over 65, over 50, all these changes. But really our gut health, which communicates with our immune system through that thin epithelial lining, which had the thickness of that wet paper towel, when that breaks down and what's inside our gut, which is our microbiome, all sorts of an ecosystem, bacteria, viruses, and fungi, when that changes, when that neighborhood changes to more adverse bacteria versus beneficial bacteria, the cascade of our health just drops dramatically. It is a precipitous drop.
Let's talk about bacteria. We always think of bacteria as something that you want to destroy. And of course, if we're taking antibiotics, it's probably taking care of a lot of that, whether we want it to or not. But you were just talking about healthy bacteria versus non-healthy. Would you go into that a little bit for us?
That's a great lead in. We are made up of 10-to-1 bacterial cells to human cells. So anybody who just looks at bacteria all the time is quite myopic. Because, or I should say, if they look at human cells, they're quite myopic because of that 10-to-1 ratio. We need a certain amount of beneficial bacteria. As a matter of fact, the number is almost precise in that we need about 85% good bacteria. Below 85% good bacteria in our gut, it's something called dysbiosis, which is a slippery slope towards a lot of neurodegenerative diseases, which I'm sure that you are going to pin me on in a moment. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Plan on it.
Yeah, I feel it coming. I love it. The avalanche of questions is outstanding because as long as I can answer in an evocative manner, somebody's going to benefit because I believe that health is paramount to everybody. That said, let's go in reverse and let's get to talk about that bacteria. Our ecosystem, our gut is an ecosystem. I grew up in the Bronx, which is, an interesting borough and an interesting neighborhood to grow up in. It's a neighborhood, So there's both good and bad bacteria, if you will. There's yeast, there's viruses. So the good bacteria has to push out the bad bacteria. And we need the good bacteria because the good bacteria has health promoting properties. So much so, we don't want just good bacteria. We want various kinds of good bacteria, or if you will, what we like to refer to as biodiversity of bacteria.
Where do we get the good guys, and how do we get the bad guys out of there?
Well, the good guys come from good food and a good probiotic, but let's talk about foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, but we always talk about bacteria and probiotics. Yes, you heard me say I take 2 probiotics, but everything always starts with food, hence the term supplement, supplemental to lifestyle and food. But I think now the key element, the Superman of your gut, if you will, is now prebiotics and or fiber. Prebiotics are a soluble or an insoluble fiber that feed the probiotics. The average American only consumes about 8 to 15 grams of fiber. We need 35 to 50 grams of fiber. It has been stated in various articles that if you increase your consumption of fiber by 10 grams, you decrease your mortality by 24%. So eating more fiber is really a key element to overall gut health and to ensure that your ecosystem, your bacteria that's going on in your gut gets fed. Because if you don't feed it, it's going to turn around and eat your gut lining and you're going to get leaky gut, even if you take a probiotic.
So the prebiotics are every bit as important as the probiotics.
You know, my dad used this great metaphor. I try to explain to him this very topic that we're talking about now. And he says, so let me get this. The probiotics are transient. That's right. You always have to replenish them. They don't stay forever. So they're like a guest in a hotel. Yeah, Dad, you could do that. And the guest needs to be fed. Otherwise, he breaks the room up. Yeah, Dad, you could say that too. And my dad pretty much put it together. You've got to feed the inhabitants. Otherwise, they're going to look for food. And the only thing they could eat that's viable for them would be your gut lining.
Looking for food in all the wrong places.
Correct. Correct.
So what are some of the emerging longevity trends that you're most excited about?
You know, I'm excited about the concept of, the Italians once said, interestingly enough, dulce fa oh my goodness. All my Italian friends are going to kill me. Dulce fa niente, meaning the sweetness of doing nothing. The concept of longevity, maybe take a step back and relax. That would be number one. Number two, the concept of changing what we eat. Another thing that comes to mind in the longevity trends that are exciting is to restore the body, but also prevent the downslope of injury. Some of the interesting supplements, if I can, breakthrough supplements, the one that comes to the mind, Beeping Red Light, the superhero of them all, or the Marvel comic book character, because it's called the Wolverine supplements, BPC 157. It's a peptide that can come in oral form. BPC means body protective compound. It has a plethora of possibilities for you, one of which is angiogenesis. It allows blood vessels to regrow. It also helps fix with leaky gut. It's great for long COVID. It also slows down delayed onset muscle soreness, which means it slows down your achiness after workout, enables you to recover, and it actually comes from gastric juice in your body. So for me, I'm real excited about the possibilities of sharing this with patients. I happen to take it every day on my own.
So it's a supplement that you can purchase at a store?
Yeah, you can get it. You can get it online. That is correct.
Pretty fascinating. So how long has it been out?
It's been out. I'm pausing because it's really started to come to the forefront in the last 2 years. It was first discovered, are you ready for this, in 1993.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it stood the test of time.
Stood the test of time. Well, it's time for us to take another station break. Please stay with us as Dr. Silverman and I continue to explore longevity, gut health, and immunity. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Do you have a product or service you'd like to promote to a worldwide audience? Imagine your product featured on Mission Evolution Radio TV. If you're interested in showcasing your work, Mission Evolution is broadcast to the X Zone TV Channel 32 Simul TV, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and many other audio and social media platforms. Our professional studios can produce and broadcast your custom high-quality ad. It will be permanently embedded in each episode and featured in the archives for years to come. Together, we can make it happen. Contact us at info@missionevolution.org for more details. Spaces are limited, so don't miss out on this great opportunity. Email info@missionevolution.org today. Short of sitting on a case of beans and toilet paper with an assault rifle, how can we prepare for the next pandemic? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Robert Silverman, his website, drrobertsilverman.com. So, Dr. Silverman, we have, COVID's kind of taken a back burner, but it hasn't really. I mean, we're seeing people with long COVID and, it keeps mutating and we keep getting sick with it. How can we boost our immune system? What do you see as being our best defense against the next pandemic?
Well, the first thing I would do to boost our immune system would be cut down on our sugar intake. It has been shown that 300 calories of sugar decreases our immune effectiveness by 50% over the 2-hour period. So if you want your immune system to function well, stop eating sugar. If you want your immune system to function well, try and exercise daily. If you want your immune system to function well, eat a good diet full of fruits, vegetables, legumes, grass-fed beef, wild smash fish, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Meditate, keep your stress levels down, and here are a couple of supplements that seem to really boost the immune system: zinc, magnesium, vitamin D. Did you know that vitamin D shouldn't be called a vitamin? It's actually a steroid hormone. 70% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin D is able to get into a receptor site into the nucleus and actually affects the DNA. It's worth 5% of our genome. It was said through, I think it was 6 large clinical studies, that if you had a vitamin D level of over 50, you had a statistical 0 of dying, whether you were vaccinated or not vaccinated. L-glutathione is another great choice. Talked about that a little before. And last but not least, something that people don't look at a lot for a supplement, astaxanthin. That's the known as the coloring to the shrimp and the salmon, a beautiful antioxidant for overall health.
So, long COVID, it seems to be a lot of neurological involvement. How does gut health affect our neurology?
Well, as we said earlier, there's a gut to brain axis, and long COVID is a very personal thing to me because my mom at 90 contracted COVID. She's almost 95, and she went from a very lucid woman who had almost total recall of every experience that she had in her life to someone who gives me one-word answers now. So it's very hard and very personal to me when people talk about long COVID. I happen to treat a lot of patients with long COVID. So the gut is an interesting thing. It was shown that the virus gets shedded through the gut, puts a strain on the gut, increase the incidence of leaky gut by 24 times now in many instances. And I did say 24 times, not 24%. Right. So if you have COVID or have had COVID, one of my suggestions is to get a gut barrier panel test to see the status of your gut. Whatever you do to your gut, you do to your brain. You have something called a blood-brain barrier. That blood-brain barrier also protects the brain. If you've damaged your gut, you've probably damaged your blood-brain barrier. That'll also lead you down a path of neurological diseases. All these neurological diseases that I'm mentioning, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, all have a gut origin. They're bidirectional and they're autoimmune. Lastly, when we talk about the gut, 90% of children who have autism have a gut problem.
90%.
It's 90%, a 2019 study.
My goodness. Now, how much is this gut problem hereditary as well?
There is a hereditary component. Genes are 10 to 30% of your outcome. It has been stated that genes load the gun and your environment fires the gun. So there are genetic concerns. However, I tell everybody, if you do everything you can and you keep your environment robust and strong, you're probably not going to have your genetic or your epigenetic expression.
So it's there, but we don't need to activate it if we're careful what we're doing with our diet and everything. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. It's a loaded gun, but the environment shoots the gun.
That's that puts it right back in our pocket, doesn't it?
So to speak. Yeah.
So it's about the time in the show, and I get to ask you, Dr. Silverman, what is your mission?
Oh, wow. My mission is to create health for future generations starting now.
Hmm. That is a good one. Because it seems like our future generations are faced with more health problems than ever before that in recorded history, isn't it?
We are the first generation to leave a worse scenario for the generation after us. And, having two parents who were Depression era parents who went through World War II here, it is very disconcerting to me to see. And if my ability in us to have this conversation on this venue allows one or two people to change how they are, I'll do this all day, every day, 365, 24/7.
Well, bless you for doing it. What protocols do you recommend for long COVID? Or the ones you go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
So the protocols for long COVID: take care of your gut health, choose those foods, stay away from those environmental toxins that stimulate any kind of leaky gut, keep your blood sugar down, limit your high glycemic carbohydrates. So avoid citrusy fruits, things of that nature. Don't eat too many potatoes at one time. Don't even eat too much gluten-free pasta at one time. I know everybody says I'm no fun, Rob. That's not true. I'm rhapsodic, Rob. There's a lot of fun in different foods. And if you have long COVID, there is a good protocol that I would share. Number one, there are 5 supplements that I would recommend in addition to changing what you would eat. And those supplements are creatine, shown to really help with long and short-term amnesia. Creatine over a 6-month period has been widely studied to help with long COVID. Taurine, believe it or not, an amino acid, is shown to help with long COVID. BPC 157, the Swiss Army knife of health. Vitamin D, which we talked about before. Vitamin D is a virtuoso source because it provides a swath of health promoting properties. And last but not least, believe it or not, once again, that pre and probiotic are going to help you because you want to keep your gut in its most pristine condition and you want to keep your ecosystem strong with a lot of biodiversity. Some modalities that people should seek out for long COVID that I found to be wonderful would be a non-thermal low-level laser. That electromagnetic transfers of energy is able to stimulate mitochondrial function. One of the biggest problems with long COVID is fatigue and mitochondrial fatigue. And one of the reasons that long COVID leads to some of the neurodegenerative disease is mitochondrial dysfunction is one of the components of neurodegenerative disease. I think the conversation in 2 years that we're going to have is all about mitochondrial dysfunction, trying to have mitochondrial function.
So for us lay people, the mitochondria is?
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of our cell, which produces ATP. So it's our ability to produce energy. We need to produce efficient energy. Otherwise, we're tired. By the way, the mitochondria is in every cell of the body, and our brain is our number one mitochondrial organ.
And so is that start to explain why the COVID has such impact on people's brains? We call it COVID brain. People lose their memory, all that stuff.
That's right, because it shuts your ability to make energy off. You can't produce energy. and your brain becomes dysfunctional. And I think number two is because it damages the blood-brain barrier, which portends neurodegenerative disease.
Just amazing. The way that cascades. Um, so how can we best approach this? What's going to be the first step that you would recommend that people take so that we are more robust? Because these diseases aren't going away, particularly not COVID. Where do we start as individuals?
I think we have to start in realizing that health is wealth. It's not something that's our right. It's something we actually have to earn. I think we actually have to start asking the doctors to try and do a better job and start testing for our immune health. So I believe that you're only as old as your immune system, and you're only as young as your good immune system. I think we still have to start asking some biomarkers of overall health. Some of the ones that I would recommend that I don't see often enough. Guys, everybody take a pen and a paper, pen and a piece of paper out. You're really going to want this. Everybody should check their hemoglobin A1C, which is their average blood sugar over a 90 to 120 day period. That will really let you know where you are and really lead to let you know if you have a good immune health. Your vitamin D levels, we talked about that before. Believe it or not, when it comes to neurodegenerative disease, which is part of immunity, believe it or not, I would have everybody test their APOE status. So you have three options: APOE2, which is less than 1% of the population. You'll never see Alzheimer's. APOE3, which is what I have, you're basically in neutral. If you're a car, you can go forward if you're leading a good lifestyle. You go into reverse if your lifestyle bad. APOE4 increases your incidence of Alzheimer's by 80%. So I would strongly suggest to live the anti-Alzheimer's lifestyle, which is something that we shared before: good food, exercise, avoid environmental toxins, decrease your sugar.
Well, it is unfortunately, we could go on and on. We're out of time. Dr. Silverman, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and share this with our audience.
It's been my pleasure. And don't forget, as Jim Rome once said, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live.
Bless your heart. Our guest this hour has been Robert Silverman, Dr. Robert Silverman. He's the author of Immune Reboot and Inside Out Health. To find out more about Dr. Silverman, where you can find his books and all he has to offer, visit his website, drrobertsilverman.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information, enjoy our past archived episodes, visit missionevolution.org. And we'll see you next time. We're going to bring more good things to help with your evolution.